New York, 1933. The Great Depression had the city in a chokehold. Streets were crowded with the jobless. Soup lines stretched around corners. And in the Bronx, behind a quiet speakeasy door, something strange was happening. On a freezing winter night, a man pushed through that door, his clothes soaked through, frost clinging to his eyebrows. His lips were cracked. His hands were blackened from the cold. But somehow, he was alive. The bartender froze. The room went silent. The regulars at the bar stared like they were seeing a ghost, because this wasn't the first time this man had returned from the brink. In fact, no one could figure out how he kept coming back. His name was Michael Malloy, a homeless Irishman, a heavy drinker, a nobody. And yet, he'd already survived more than most men ever would. This is the true story of the man the newspapers called Iron Mike, and of 5 men who tried again and again to kill him and still failed. It all began in 1932, deep in the heart of the Bronx. Inside a rundown speakeasy, 5 men sat together, nursing cheap drinks and darker thoughts. The bar's owner, Anthony Marino, was desperate for money. Alongside him were Joseph Murphy, the bartender, Francis Pasqua, an undertaker, and 2 petty criminals, Daniel Kreisberg and Hershey Green. Together, they came up with a plan. The idea was simple and brutal. Find a man who wouldn't be missed, take out life insurance in his name, kill him quietly, and split the payout. They called it a sure thing. They even gave themselves a nickname, the Murder Trust. Their target would be someone with no family, no friends, and no one to ask questions. And soon, they found their man. Michael Malloy was a shadow of a man, around 60 years old, an Irish immigrant with no job, no home, and no family. He had once worked as a firefighter, but now spent his days wandering the streets, sleeping in parks, and drinking anything he could afford or beg for. He was a regular at Marino's speakeasy, often seen slumped in a corner, half-conscious, barely coherent. To the Murder Trust, Malloy was perfect. They convinced him to sign a stack of insurance forms, 3 policies totaling $3,576, which would be worth over $75,000 today. They used aliases and paid off an unscrupulous insurance agent to make it all official. Malloy didn't ask questions. He could barely stay upright. As far as he knew, he was being given free drinks, and that's exactly what they did next. Marino told Malloy he had a special deal, unlimited credit at the bar. Malloy drank like a man possessed. Whiskey, gin, cheap homemade cocktails, anything they gave him, he swallowed. The gang's first plan was simple: let him drink himself to death. But to their shock, Malloy didn't die. He kept coming back night after night. Sometimes he passed out cold, but always woke up the next day and asked for more. So they switched strategies. They began serving him wood alcohol, pure methanol, a substance that can cause blindness or death in small amounts. They gave him glass after glass, undiluted. Malloy drank it and came back the next day, smiling. The gang was stunned. What was keeping him alive? Still determined, the Murder Trust got creative. They gave Malloy raw oysters soaked in methanol. They fed him rotten sardines, spoiled meat, and even sandwiches stuffed with metal shavings and tacks. Malloy ate every bite. At one point, Pasqua added poison to his food. Another time, they tried giving him turpentine, antifreeze, and horse liniment. Nothing worked. Then they changed tactics. One freezing January night, after getting Malloy blackout drunk, they dragged him into a nearby park, dumped him in the snow, doused him with water, and left him there, shirtless, in temperatures below freezing. The next morning, he walked back into the bar with a cough and asked for another round. The gang was beginning to panic. By February 1933, the group was running out of money and patience. One night, they gave Malloy drinks until he passed out. Then they placed him on a mattress in the bar's back room, ran a gas line from a coal heater, and left it running straight into his mouth. This time, it worked. Michael Malloy was finally dead. They staged the scene to look like natural causes, listing his death as pneumonia. The gang collected a payout of $800 from one of the insurance policies. The others were being investigated for fraud and denied. They thought they had succeeded, but they were wrong. Soon after Malloy's death, police received an anonymous tip. Detectives grew suspicious of how many people connected to Marino's bar had died recently, and how oddly similar their insurance arrangements were. Authorities ordered Malloy's body exhumed. An autopsy revealed clear signs of carbon monoxide poisoning, internal damage, and old injuries. Then came the confessions. One member of the group cracked under pressure. The others soon followed. They admitted everything: the poison, the alcohol, the car crash, the gas, and that the goal had always been to cash in on life insurance. What was once a backroom joke became front-page headlines. The trial became a media sensation. Reporters called it the dumbbell murder, a name mocking how long it took and how many times they failed. 4 men were charged: Marino, Pasqua, Murphy, and Kreisberg. 2, Marino and Pasqua, were sentenced to death and executed by electric chair at Sing Sing prison in 1934. The others received long prison terms.
The story spread across the country. People were shocked, amused, and fascinated by the idea of a man who refused to die no matter what was thrown at him. Michael Malloy became an unlikely legend. Michael Malloy didn't want revenge. He didn't fight back. He didn't even know he was being targeted. He just wanted a drink. And somehow that simple, stubborn desire kept him alive longer than any man should have lasted. Today, Malloy's story survives in true crime books, podcasts, and documentaries. He's remembered not as a hero or a villain, but as a symbol of strange resilience, of how sometimes even the best laid evil plans fall apart in the face of dumb, unexplainable luck. They thought he was disposable. They thought he wouldn't be missed. But in trying to erase Michael Malloy, they turned him into a legend, a man who wouldn't and couldn't die.